You might believe that after years of being in the public eye, there isn't much more to learn about Hollywood's famous stars. But even famous people like Robert Redford, who is recognized for his appearances in classic movies like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, have secrets hidden behind their polished exteriors. For years, fans and critics have been trying to figure out the guy behind the charm by putting together the parts of his life and work that aren't known. Redford has finally opened up at the age of 87, bringing to light intimate thoughts and secrets that were kept hidden from the public. In this video, we'll go into great detail about these new facts, looking at the secret sides of a real film industry giant. Robert Redford Jr. was born on August 18, 1936 in Santa Monica, California. Redford, on the other hand, had major health problems, the most serious of which being polio when he was 11 years old. He got sick during this time. It's the most important part of his life that he remembers fondly. It was when he learned how to be strong and see things from a different angle. Redford's mother, Martha Hart Redford, died when he was 18 years old from septicemia complications. This was the second time he felt sad. This was one of the worst things that had happened to him, and it changed him a lot, as shown by how he grew emotionally and what he did for a living. Even though he had a lot of trouble at first that made him less interested in art and sports, he did show a lot of interest in both that helped him escape his personal troubles. Redford first went to Colorado University on a baseball scholarship, but he lost the scholarship and had to leave the school because he drank too much. This habit followed him around for a long time. But he didn't let that stop him. The setback just made him want to see more of the globe, so he went to Europe. During this time, he was able to observe the world in a new way and even become a stronger artist. His acting career took off again when he got back to the US. He attended to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, and this school helped him become an actor. Redford's early work in theater in the late 1950s was what made him a brilliant Broadway actor. Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park, which he wrote in the late 1960s, was the work that made him famous. He played the part of Paul Bratter, a newlywed husband. This made him a rising star in the theater industry. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which came out in 1969, was Robert Redford's first great hit in the movie business. Errol Flynn and Newman worked together in the movie The Sundance Kid, where Flynn played Butch Cassidy. Paul Newman plays this part. The relationship between Redford and Newman was very important to the movie. The chemistry between them was so strong that it sucked the audience in. Critics appreciated their portrayal of the two lovely yet awful characters, which helped Redford become a sensation in the movie business. Redford's career took a big step forward with the success of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It was also a big step forward for American film at the time. The film's premise of tension, funny conversation, and general adventure is made even better by the excellent chemistry between Newman and Redford. It also showed that Redford was skilled at connecting with people, which made him look like a fine actor who would always earn money for the producers. The success of this movie at the box office led to other roles in Hollywood. He started showing up in big 70s movies like The Sting and All the President's Men after that. Each part contributed to his name and showcased a distinct facet of his talent, showing how flexible he was as an actor. Redford got to work with Paul Newman again on The Sting, which helped make both of their names on-screen stars for years to come. In this movie, which takes place in the 1930s, two con artists pull off a big robbery. Redford's portrayal of Johnny Hooker, a talkative con artist who makes a lot of money, was praised, and he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. The movie won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it made the second most money of the year after Titanic. The movie made Redford look even more like one of the top stars at the box office. Renu Redford's entrance on the set of The Sting accidentally pushed back the filming of the movie. In a recent episode of the Hollywood Reporter's podcast It Happened in Hollywood, which commemorated the film's 50th anniversary, one of the things that makes Redford stand out from the crowd is his talent. In the end, though, the movie was a hit, and the only thing Redford couldn't accomplish was show up on time to film. He was actually late around 40 minutes most of the time. Finally, they got together when a more disciplined co-star named Newman, in this case, called him out on his lack of professionalism. And Redford was reminded of how he wasn't perfect. Redford's problem with being late to work was a secret adversary for the rest of his career. For instance, when Redford directed and produced the movie The Milagro Beanfield War in 1988, he would show up to the shoot several hours late. David S. Ward, the screenwriter, told stories about crew workers who would wait for Redford till late in the morning. He would never tell them that there was a delay. This kind of thinking affected other people he worked with, like actor Cheech Marin, who had to wait days at Sundance before he could audition. Not only did Redford play Bob Woodward in the movie All the President's Men, but he also made the movie. So, by making this movie, Redford not only made himself a better actor, but also a better producer. Redford played the part of Bob Woodward, the real Washington Post reporter who helped look into the Watergate affair. This was the most serious and focused peak of his acting career. The movie got a lot of praise for its interesting story and accurate portrayal of history. It won 4 Academy Awards, which shows how important the press is to American democracy. But that's not all. The movie Out of Africa, which came out in 1985, was based on the autobiographical novel by Karen Blixen and stars Meryl Streep. Robert Redford. This movie, made by a well-known director and set in the colonial area of Kenya in the early 20th century, received 7 Oscars, including Best Picture of the Year. Redford not only played the part of Denise Finch Hatton, a big game hunter, with adventure, hope, and deep thought, but he also became a cinematic star. He showed off his acting skills in these movies. His parts also had a big effect on the culture and cinema industry of the time. He won an Oscar for this movie, and Hollywood was finally starting to take him seriously. Robert Redford has had a big impact on the film business, especially as a director, not just as an actor. His first movie as a director, Ordinary People, 1980, is probably the most famous one. He won an Academy Award for Best Director for it. It also won an Oscar for Best Picture. The movie goes into great detail into the difficult relationships between family members who are suffering with grief and guilt. Redford's careful and sympathetic way of exploring his character's emotions was a hallmark of a director who clearly knew how to tell a tale, which established a high bar for his future directorial ventures. After the popularity of Ordinary People, he also went on to talk about many other parts of the story. Robert was able to show how well he understood human experiences in movies by adapting Norman Maclean's novella A River Runs Through It into a movie in 1992. The movie takes place in the Montana countryside in the early 1900s. The twins are reared by their father, who is also the village pastor. It has amazing images and an artistic look at brothers' love and their lives. The movie came out and was quite well liked by the public. The Quiz Show, 1994, was his next big directing job. This show showed another side of Redford, his love of complex moral questions. The movie is based on real events from quiz show scandals in the 1950s. It also depicts how people's ambition for fame and money led to a lot of corruption behind the scenes. The movie Quiz Show got good reviews and was also up for Best Director. Robert Redford has talked frankly about his experiences with celebrity, the decisions he took in his work, and his personal life at the age of 87. This shows that he has thought deeply about these things. Redford said in a recent interview that being famous has many benefits, but it also means losing privacy and individuality. Robert Redford, one of the most famous actors, never watches his own movies. That's interesting. He told Today in 2015 that he grew up in a rough part of Los Angeles where he and his pals would watch movies to make fun of them. And he couldn't stop thinking about how he was part of the audience that was making fun of his own performance. He doesn't like to see his own work since it makes him feel uncomfortable to see himself on film. Redford has also talked about how bad celebrity culture can be. He thought of success as 3 stages: becoming an object to others, starting to regard oneself as an object, and, if you're not careful, completely losing yourself to this objectified identity. In a talk with his grandson Walker, he stressed how important it is to be humble. Redford talked on how he became famous with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and how the rapid success made him wary of losing himself to it. He talked about how he came up with a personal plan for dealing with his fame without letting it change who he is or how he sees things. Robert Redford's personal life has been much more chaotic than his work life. Redford married Lola Van Wagenen in 1958, and they had 4 kids. His family life was full of both love and sadness, which had a big effect on his life and career. Just a few months after Scott was born, Redford lost him to sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. This left a scar on him that will last forever. But losing someone close to you at an early age might make you stronger and change the way you see life, putting your personal life above your work. He lost someone else in 2020. Sadly, his son James died of bile duct cancer when he was 58 years old. Cindy Berger, a spokesperson for Redford, said that the family was having a very hard time and needed some space during this time. Berger said that Jamie was a loving son, husband, and father. He lived on via his kids, his art, his movies, and his love of protecting the environment. The cause of James's death started while he was young. James Redford, a filmmaker, had been dealing with liver difficulties since he was a child. He was diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis, which is an extremely rare autoimmune liver condition. After 2 liver transplants in 1993, he created the James Redford Institute for Transplant Awareness to teach people about donating organs and tissues. In 2005, he and his father started the Redford Center, which helps filmmakers who make documentaries about the environment. James's wife, Kyle, who has been with him for 32 years and has 2 children, Dylan and Lena, who were his main sources of support, takes over. Even though he was famous, Redford tried to keep his kids out of the spotlight by sending them to a regular school and growing them away from the movie industry. This choice is similar to the kinds of movies he has made about family life throughout his career. He often talked about how hard it was to keep his family happy because he had to act and direct at the same time. He divorced Van Wagenen in 1985 and married Sybil Zagers, his lifelong partner, 6 years later. Since then, he has stayed out of the public eye and focused on his family. Redford said that his biggest ambition was to be a decent father and a guy his kids could trust. Robert's life was full of tragedies, not just the deaths of his sons. He also lost his uncle, who he looked up to, as well as his parents. This time was quite hard for him. The loss of all these people may be seen in his movies, which often deal with loss, healing, and what it means to be human. Robert Redford started the Sundance Film Festival in 1981 as part of the Sundance Institute, a group he started to give independent filmmakers a chance to show their work without the commercial pressures that come with popular theaters. Sundance, which is based in Park City, Utah, quickly became an important part of cinema. Redford's dream of fostering artistic freedom in movies led to the festival. He had worked as a director on projects that were different from what Hollywood usually does and that Hollywood never embraced. So, Sundance became a method for him to help other people like him. Sundance is now the biggest independent film festival in the U.S. It is also very important to the global film business because it shows independent films to a larger audience. Sundance has had a tremendous effect on independent film, helping many directors become famous around the world. There are several directors who have benefited from the festival, including Quentin Tarantino, whose career took off after showing Reservoir Dogs, and Steven Soderbergh, whose first feature film, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, won the Audience Award in 1989. These accomplishments highlight how Sundance helps filmmakers get discovered and get their work seen when it might not have been seen in the typical studio structure. The festival is not only for feature films, but also for documentaries. It gives a place for documentaries that look at complicated issues, such as Inconvenient Truth and The Cove. These movies did well during the festival, but they also became a worldwide hit and had an impact that went beyond the movies themselves. Redford has unquestionably made modern movies better with the support of Sundance, which stresses the importance of artistic integrity and creative independence. The festival's many voices and tales have inspired a new generation of filmmakers who aren't afraid to think big and try new ways of telling stories. Robert Redford has received many awards for his work as an actor and as an activist, especially for Native American rights, environmental protection, and political concerns. His involvement has led to big changes in public policy, and his work has helped people understand some problems. Redford has been an environmental activist since the 1970s. He used his prominent position to speak out for renewable energy and conservation. He was a big supporter of the anti-nuclear movement and helped get people to speak out against building nuclear power plants in California. Because of what he did, there are now stronger rules around nuclear energy and other types of energy. But that's not all he does. Redford has been a strong supporter of the American Indians all his life, stressing the importance of preserving their culture and independence. He has been trying to enhance Native American arts and education through a number of projects. For example, he helped start the Native American Preparatory School in New Mexico, which was an effort to improve the education of Native American students. Redford is also politically active, and his support for environmental regulations is extremely important. He has had to testify in front of the U.S. Congress multiple times about how to safeguard the environment and climate change. His campaigning was essential in the enactment of many key legislations which are meant to protect endangered species and regulate industrial pollution. He also utilized his power to start a campaign against the Keystone XL project, saying that it would have terrible impacts on the environment. His support was very important to the National Awareness Campaign, which eventually led to the project's closure. Robert Redford has utilized his stature to support the rights of indigenous people and responsible government in the future by filming documentaries, giving speeches, and getting more involved with policymakers. His tireless work is not only about raising awareness, it is also a major reason why public policy and practice have changed. Robert Redford has talked about his long and successful career in Hollywood, his activism, and the legacy he wishes to leave behind in recent interviews. These self-analyses let us see what a man who has observed a lot of changes in culture and the environment over the past few decades is thinking. Redford often says that his job has always been both a blessing and a curse. He remarked honestly that being a star may be quite challenging at times. But the real privilege is having the chance to make a difference. Redford also wanted people to respect him for his advocacy instead of his performance on screen. He added, "I hope to be known as someone who kept learning and teaching and not just acting." He talked about how Sundance was started and how it changed independent cinema. His love of helping new filmmakers and supporting new films has truly changed the course of film history. Redford also talked about how he learned to accept the roles that molded his early career by saying that each job was a chapter in his life. "I wouldn't modify the script if I could go back." Lastly, when Redford talked about becoming older and dying, he gave off a sense of serenity and acceptance. "As I've become older, I've learned to let go of things I can't change and gained wisdom." This philosophical acceptance says a lot about how he went from being a Hollywood hunk to a wise voice for environmental and cultural causes. Robert Redford is still a big name in Hollywood and in the fight for the environment, but he likes to keep things quiet and low-key these days. Thanks for listening. Watch the next video that pops up on your screen if you want to make another amazing discovery.